and he kind of represented all the people that Chris Rock has marginalised, made fun of over the years, and just in that one moment just went, stop.
Welcome to the Showbiz Showdown with me, JJ Anisiobi. This is the programme where we take one big question and we debate the hell out of it. Doing that with me this week on the panel, it's a family affair. In the blue corner, she is my part-time work wife, full-time bad influence. It's Miss Nicola Thorp.
Thank you. My proper title.
And in the red corner, my sister from another mister, Esther. I can't believe she said that. Krakue. So, today's big question. It's simple. Should Will Smith be banned from the Oscars? I don't know if you recall, but last year there was a little incident seen by a few million people around the world of him and Chris Rock. Take a look at this.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow.
So, that is the slap that we're seeing and heard around the world. The man in black, Will Smith, because he was in the Men in Black, slapping a black man. That's the best link I could do for that part. Sorry, apologies. But Will Smith is profusely sorry. He's apologised to Chris Rock, the Academy, to his fans, to Oprah. He's just dead sorry, okay? He regrets it massively, yet the Academy have banned him for 10 years from attending the Oscars. Is that too long? Should Chris Rock turn the other cheek and get slapped again? Hey? No, don't slap Chris Rock again. Don't do that. But should the Academy forgive, not necessarily forget, but just let him attend this year? Esther?
I think they should forgive him.
Why?
And I've been very vocal. I was very critical about him assaulting, because we just call it a slap, but it's assault, right? He assaulted a grown man on stage for a joke that he told, and it's clearly, gross behavior. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's not within the spirit of the kind of things that these people love to preach to us. How many times have these celebrities gone on stage and made some sort of political speech about either blatantly supporting a candidate or the state of the union or whatever, right? And how many times do we have to stomach it down? Look at Ricky Gervais's sort of roast last year of celebrities that are so sanctimonious, right? But you have this man who's clearly apologized. He's made a mistake. Why shouldn't he be forgiven? How does that even make sense? They're just hypocrites.
So he's forgiven, but should they uphold the ban?
I don't think they should uphold the ban.
Okay, Nicola?
I think it's probably right that he should be banned from attending the ceremony at the end of the day. And it is just going to a party. It's not a criminal sanction that's been put on him. It's just they've stopped him from attending a party at which he broke, I would say, the most important rule of the Oscars is don't assault the host. And for him to go up on stage, whether or not he was right to do it is a different matter. But ultimately, if you're going to be holding a ceremony that is watched by millions of people around the world, you want to set a precedent, and a very basic one at that, which is you should not be allowed to attend for the next year. I don't think necessarily 10 years. I think that's a little bit too much.
But the thing is, I would understand it if he's a risk to other people. Like, let's say The Rock hosts next year, and Will Smith is clearly high on some sort of drugs to try and slap The Rock. Okay.
I get where you're coming from.
You know what I mean? Is he still a risk? That's my thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you've apologized and you've made it very clear that this is something that was very out of character and all of that, I would understand the argument that he's at risk to other people if he attends again. But if he's not at risk, and we know that Hollywood as an institution is full of people that like to think better of themselves, to put it nicely, I don't understand how that's sort of morally consistent with a lot of the positions most people in Hollywood take.
Yes,
right?
And statistically, Will Smith's the least likely person to slap anyone at the Oscars if he was to attend again, because all eyes are on him. And then you look at the other reasons why people have been either banned from the Oscars, or I think only a couple of people have had their Oscars taken away from them. On that long list of crimes, albeit actual legal crimes or crimes against the industry, slapping somebody isn't the biggest thing that has happened.
What's this done to Will Smith's reputation?
Ooh, I mean, he's the most talked about man, certainly was after the incident happened. It raised the profile of the Oscars. Arguably, it's one of the best things that could have happened to the event itself because everybody was talking about it. I remember that following morning, it was the best day of my life. I didn't know what to, well, you know, we work in this, the memes, we work in this industry. It was like, whose side am I on? Do we, you know, this was a man slapping another man, but there was a whole load of history to it that I wasn't fully aware of at the time. And when you start reading into it, you go, okay, you shouldn't slap another person. Or should you, under the right circumstances? Because actually, if I was Will Smith in that situation, would I have slapped Chris Rock? Probably backstage.
Okay.
But not in front of everyone else.
But the thing is, he disgraced himself. And I think for people, especially for what he represents as, you know, in the US, but in his community, I think he really disgraced himself, and I think he really just kind of lowered the standard of conduct. That being said, he kind of brought up a lot of cultural conversations around sort of, you know, dynamics in a relationship. Should he divorce Jada? I mean, you know, this is toxic, whatever, right? And while I think that is relevant, clearly this is a troubled man with a troubled personal life. That's without question. Normal people who are saying don't go up on stage to slap someone over a joke they made about their wife that 2 seconds before they were laughing at, right? So that I understand that, and I completely factor that into the conversation. I just think that in the spirit of the kind of things that we get out of Hollywood in terms of them trying to influence the culture and preach love and, you know, tolerance and all of that, I just think it's hypocritical.
Do you think going forward the Academy may nominate him for an Oscar, even though he's banned from attending?
He should be nominated. I think they may do, yes, because he's still that doesn't take anything away from his work. That doesn't take away anything from the fact that he's a very talented actor. And I think I don't think it would help anyone to not move forward in the most gracious way possible. That being said, don't bring Jada with you ever again, man. don't bring, where's the camera? Don't bring your bald wife to the Oscars ever again. No.
Wow, we've got security, so Will Smith will not be coming in to slap
I'm sorry,
you,
no, because if that's something you're sensitive about, they always hire comedians at these award shows, every single one, and they will roast you for filth. They're equal opportunity haters. And if you can't take that, I don't think you're a risk, but I don't know what's going to happen when your wife's sitting next to you. So don't bring her back.
Do I have to slap Esther now?
I'm not bald.
Only if your wife is bald.
Oh, okay,
No, but you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the issue is you cause offense to my wife because she has this condition that she's sensitive about. That's fine. There will always be comedians at award shows. Don't bring your sensitive wife or your sensitive self if you're going to act this way.
But there's a lot of history to it. It isn't the first. It's not the first time that Chris Rock has been critical of the Smiths or of Jada in particular. And I think with that crowd, not a lot of people within that industry do like Chris Rock. He was chosen to be controversial, just like with Ricky Gervais at other ceremonies. You know, his role there is to provoke. And his role also is to accept the fact that that provocation might bring about the reaction that he does not necessarily
This is the thing. Why are we
want.
holding comedians to double standards, though? Your job is to make jokes. Jokes are naturally controversial because sometimes it will offend people, other times it will make people laugh, and we can accept that. The reality is that Chris Rock was there doing his job. He was paid to be there. He was doing a job. If you have a wife who is sensitive to he's a friend of the family, right? He worked with Jada on the Madagascar film, which I love. He's not a stranger to the Smith family. Chris Rock is a family friend. If your wife's condition is something that you and her are sensitive about, do not go to these award shows because you will be roasted. Esther, and the fact that she slept with his son's friend.
We'll go into that later, but I would argue that Chris Rock ad-libbed. He was given a script of what he should say, and he ad-libbed. So technically, he did veer off script there. What he said wasn't approved prior. But someone who may agree with you is Richard Williams. We forget Will Smith actually won an Oscar that night. It was overshadowed. The best night of his career. He won an Oscar for playing Serena and Venus Williams' dad. And when they asked King Richard what he thinks, he said, "I would never be disgusted with Mr. Smith. Matter of fact, I appreciate Mr. Smith. It's time for everyone to forgive Will Smith." When asked about Chris Rock, this is awkward. He said, "I don't feel sorry for him." Now, why would you not feel sorry for the victim? I'm confused.
I don't feel sorry for Chris Rock. Obviously, I don't think that I don't think it's ever really okay to slap somebody if there are other ways that you could sort out a disagreement. However, I do think that Will Smith probably represented an awful lot of people in that act, and it was bigger than just a slap on stage. It was this act of saying, actually, when it comes to comedy, I don't think everybody should get a free pass. And he kind of represented all the people that Chris Rock has marginalised, made fun of over the years, and just in that one moment just went, stop.
Well,
and it
then
worked.
Then he lost because comedians came back. Did you see all the social media reactions to you slapped him over that, but not August Alsina? I mean, if that was kind of the reaction of people that have had enough of comedians, making jokes they don't like, the counter reaction was very powerful, and it was actually probably counterproductive. My argument is this: I don't want to start going down the route where we have to comedians feel they have to sort of tread lightly when they're making jokes. I just think that is a downward slope that nobody's interested in. I think, again, it's about personal responsibility. The onus is on you. Just like if I see something that I don't like or someone makes a comment that I don't appreciate, I have personal responsibility. I choose how I react to it. And that's what the onus is on Will Smith to not behave that way.
But in that kind of environment, when you have been in this industry for so long and have never been really recognised properly for your work. I mean, he wasn't even nominated for Concussion, right? Which Jada had argued about and even boycotted the Oscars over. There's a lot of background emotion going on there. It's the first time being nominated. You're going to be nervous and not necessarily in complete control of what you are doing. However, the fact that it wasn't just a face-to-face slap, he stood up. He walked up, he paused, and then it happened. Of course, there were loads of moments during that 30 seconds when he could have made a different decision.
Chris Rock, who is the victim in this, he said in his special for Netflix, it was cowardly from Will Smith because he said, you can't tell on TV, but in real life, there's a huge difference. Will Smith is an action star. Chris Rock plays a junkie in a movie. They are massively different sizes. It was cowardly. And this is what else Chris Rock had to say about it.
I have rooted for Will Smith my whole life. I root for this motherfucker, okay? And now I watch Emancipation just to see him get whooped. Got me rooting for Massa, okay? Hit him again, Massa. Hit him again. You missed the spot, Massa. You missed the spot.
Okay, so look, Chris Rock, he was very scathing about Jada, pretty harsh about Will as well. He doesn't forgive. So why should we forgive Will Smith?
Because I think it would be hypocritical, and I think it goes against the values that we should be aspiring for and that Hollywood drums down our throats at every given opportunity.
He hasn't taken it well, has he, Chris Rock? But his bank balance has, because he's made an awful lot of money off that moment. But he still isn't letting go of the Jada thing. You know, his whole special wasn't really aimed at Will Smith. He's calling Jada repeatedly the B word, dragging their marriage across the coals, which I think is actually fair because they've been really open about their relationship. They do the red table talks. They speak about their was it or wasn't it an open relationship kind of thing. It's out there to be criticised. But for him to continually obsess over this woman, this black woman, and her hair and her relationships, her issues with her hair, I don't think he has dealt with it necessarily in a healthy way.
So Will's not the first person to be banned or punished by the Academy. Tell me what you think of this example. Nicola. Richard Gere, 1993, given a 20-year ban. Can you guess what for?
Not a clue.
He denounced the Chinese government's occupation of Tibet, protested the horrendous human rights situation when he was presenting an award, and the Academy said, shut up, you're banned for 20 years.
For 20
years.
So I understand that he's not just a guest, he's not receiving an award, so it's not going to be one of these speeches where you can politicise it. He's working for them, essentially, presenting part of the award, and he goes off script. So I can understand that they'd be like, hang on a second, we're not going to ask you to present again. But to ban somebody for 20 years from something that he was clearly in the right to talk about, and this is 1993. Every other speech nowadays is politicised, that it becomes an issue-based speech. Yeah. But back then, he was quite ahead of his time. Yeah. And he suffered for it.
I think the Academy is setting this weird precedent of really long bans for some reason, and I don't understand it. I don't agree with the 20-year, 10-year, or any sort of long ban from the Academy Awards. It's not prison, right?
Exactly. They think that
this
is the most punitive thing they can do. You can't come to my party anymore.
Who is the sort of the punitive board at these organizations? However, I just think, you can go one way or another with these sorts of things. You can say that you're not allowed to make a political speech at an award ceremony, or you can say you can, right? And I think when you say it ahead of its time, yes, because the decision that was made, the gavel came down on you can, because now that's all we hear at award shows. That's why most people don't watch it, because, most people aren't shrinking violets, but if you watch something that's particularly incendiary or very opposite to your political views, people get really riled up about it. And I just think, well, that there's no point, right?
I do think those speeches are good though, because it brings people down to earth. I've been to a lot of like award ceremonies for like UK acting and that kind of thing. And you do just sit there going, guys, we just pretend to be other people for a living. Yeah. So actually when you're spending all this money on these tables and people are spending the money on their dresses and everything, I like hearing the political speeches because at least there's an awareness there of going, look, our lives are great. And so if we're going to take just 20 seconds each person this evening to talk about other people whose lives aren't great, then that is a good thing. And it is using that platform.
I think I take the opposite. I think it's quite condescending. I just think, why do we celebrate sort of this profession of acting as front-facing as it is, like they've cured cancer? Like you're right. You play different people for a living. My thing is, if you want to have an award ceremony, do it in McDonald's. That is the difference. I think that's the reason why. I just think, why do you feel the need to do that? It's because of the pomp and noise and circumstance around the occasion. And I'm like, if you want to not feel that way, don't do it like that. Make it low key. Just,
Well, let's move on to another person who's been banned.
Okay.
He that shall not be named, Roman Polanski. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now he was only expelled in 2018 alongside Bill Cosby. We know Bill Cosby's crimes. So Roman Polanski, there were rape allegations against a 13-year-old girl who he was dating. They still say that he was dating. You can't date a child. So that was back in 1977. The director fled the US, as we know, never returned. And he was still nominated for awards even after that. And in 2003, he won the Oscar for The Pianist. But in 2018, I guess after Me Too, they finally expelled the guy. Was it not too little too late by that point? Is this not Hollywood's immense hypocrisy at show?
Yeah, it depends when they became aware of it, because I know that post Me Too, which was 2017, these stories were taken more seriously, as they should have been a long time.
I mean, he's a paedophile, isn't he? So
yeah, and that was in 1977 was when the accusations first came out about him. Yeah. And he fled the USA because the police were like, you did have sex with her.
So he wouldn't have even attended the award ceremonies anyway. So I guess it's
hypocrisy,
I don't know if it's hypocrisy if they presumed that he wasn't going to come, but maybe in 2018 they realised, we know he's never going to turn up, but we should, again, this forward-facing thing of being like, but we are going to ban him.
But in 2003, he won an Oscar, whereas in 1993, as we just said, Rich Gere was given a 20-year ban. So they were okay to ban Gere 10 years up prior, but they weren't okay to ban.
Well, they're very inconsistent. It's obvious. They're very inconsistent. Again, who is on the punitive board for these organizations? God only knows. And look, I don't have a soft spot for pedophiles, as you can imagine. So I think.
Thank goodness for that.
So I can sleep easily at night knowing that these raging nonsense are being banned. However, I do think that I'm fine with that, but I do think on sort of political speeches, on assault issues that have been rectified with public apologies and all of that, I think there should be a more lenient stance.
I would rather that they weeded out people who were sex offenders within their own ranks, within the voting board, within Oscar membership, than just kind of put a sticking plaster over it and say, well, we're banning someone who wasn't going to be there anyway.
Exactly, for 20 years. That shows you're taking it seriously as well.
Okay, final one. Woody Allen. He denies it all. He's been accused of molesting his adopted daughter, Dylan Farrow, when she was a child. And he got married to his other adopted daughter. Now, there's nothing wrong with marrying your adopted daughter. I mean, it's not for me, but it's not illegal.
Sir, there's everything wrong with marrying your adopted daughter.
So you think Woody Allen should be banned from the Oscars as well?
Yes, because he reeks.
I also agree that Woody Allen, should be banned from the Oscars. I think that enough stuff has come out now that we understand the misbehaviour, the abuse of power dynamics, etc. Even though he denies that at the time anything bad happened, I think it says an awful lot about a human being.
I mean,
we
don't even need to.
Esther, that is the bell. That is the bell. The debate is over. I'm sorry. That is the bell. So, time for JJ's judgments. Just so we're clear, the big question was, should Will Smith be banned from this year's Oscars? Esther, in one sentence, your answer was?
No.
That's one word, not one sentence. And Nicola, your answer?
A short ban.
A short ban. Okay, well, it's my choice. And I'm going to say that making her debut on the Showbiz Showdown, Nicola Thorp is the winner. Will Smith should be banned. Maybe a short ban at least. But look, I mean, you don't go around hitting people just because someone makes an offensive joke about your wife. I don't care that you are a multi-millionaire who gives millions to charity. Oh, actually, he does give millions to charity. And he is actually a bona fide star who makes billions for the industry and employs lots of people. And he does open schools and stuff as well. And I actually met him once in Dubai. We hung out and he was really genuine and really nice. We partied all
He
night.
didn't slap you, did he?
For the first time, actually, I'm going to reverse my decision. Nicola Thorp, you lose. Esther, you are the winner. Will Smith is not getting banned, okay? If you want to ban someone, ban James Corden, because we're all sick of James Corden.
Yes.
Now, maybe you agree. If you do, comment. If you disagree, also comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.